Good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone hears me well. First of all, I just wanted to recognize the great work that was done by Dario and the team in inviting us in this type of event. I'm very pleased to be on stage and sharing with you some of the work that we're doing in Nestlé. For those who don't know me, my name is Samir, and I'm the Global Medical Operation Lead in Nestlé, and I'm mainly in charge of how we actually engage healthcare professionals, and especially on how we innovate in the way we engage with them. And to start with, I wanted to quickly introduce about Nestlé, because you might be wondering what someone from a chocolate company has to say. Actually, Nestlé is a very large group that weighs around 90 billion US dollars last year, and we mainly focus on providing safe and quality nutrition since more than 155 years. We are the world's largest FMCG company, and we sell our products in more than 186 countries. And as most FMCG companies, we have a huge number of brands that are particularly consumer-centric. So in Nestlé, we have very strong consumer roots, and I hope that you will leverage some of this consumer mindset as part of the echo that I will do here. Some of the products that we sell, we serve more than 1 billion consumers every day. And some of the products that you see behind me, you might recognize them. Some of our iconic brands like KitKat, Nespresso, Nescafe, or even Purina, if you have some cats and dogs. Within this big ecosystem, I'm part of the Nestlé Nutrition Division, which is a division which specializes in what we call food for special medical purpose, particularly targeting pregnant women, as well as the very young child and babies. What you see on the right-hand side of the screen is a baby which is born preterm, and as you can imagine, within this age, it's particularly important to leverage the best-in-class nutrition and nutrition supplements to help them grow in healthy manner. And of course, to make that happen, we partner with those HCPs that have a role in what we call the parenting journey, being neonatologists, OB-GYNs, pediatricians, midwives. So that's from a chocolate company, I move into, now you understand, the pediatric care segment that is meaningful for this conversation today. And I want to start with a picture, because we often say that one picture is worth 1,000 words, but is it? I really want to put an interrogation point on that one, because when you look at this baby and when you put yourself in the shoes of a HCP, looking at this baby, this very young child is not able to express the pain nor the symptoms that he's experiencing on a daily basis. So more than an image, more than words, I really wanted to focus this presentation on the power and the importance of conversation, not only between the patient and the HCP, but also between what we do as an industry with healthcare professionals. Our MSLs, our reps, our medical directors have been particularly powerful in the last few decades in building relationships and especially conversation with healthcare professionals. And when I talk about conversation, I really want us to map that through 3 pillars. Every conversation is about a message that we actually deliver to an audience. This message is carried through a tone of voice, not only the voice, but the tone. Very importantly, everyone speaks differently, has a different emotional impact, and we need to highlight that as such. And lastly, there is an exchange. As part of every conversation, there is an exchange. That's the big difference between a monologue and an exchange. A conversation is actually enabling this to happen. Now, I'm a big fan of the previous speaker, Jose Maria, who is actually introducing the notion of the digital equivalent of a smile. I really like the concept, and by the way, I encourage you all to follow him on YouTube, which I do. And I think that within this evolution toward digital, we all need to also think about how we extrapolate the concept of conversation into a digital setting. And to do that, I think we need to answer one very simple question, which is the following. What is the digital equivalent of a conversation? How can we extrapolate what our reps have been doing great since the last 3 decades with HCPs into a digital setting. And this is what I actually don't have the answer, but I really want us to ideate around this topic because it actually highlights, around the 3 pillars that we just shared, that content and storytelling has to be enhanced with channel and cadence, being the tone of voice, cadence being the frequency and the speed of delivery of a message, and most importantly, mapping of the exchange toward the digital equivalent of an exchange that we're having is actually the push and pull. We had a whole section on that. I was glad to hear that. But I really want us to map this toward it because I clearly believe that if we want to build meaningful experiences, we really need to leverage the 3 pillars that you saw in the previous slide and articulate them as best as possible to deliver not only products, but experiences that our customers are seeking. And this is how the journey at Nestlé has actually started, by redefining omnichannel and aligning the definition of omnichannel with the concept of this new conversation experience. Omnichannel, in our definition, is the new conversation experience that is not limited to a physical in-person conversation, but goes beyond it within the online territory. And it is not limited to a technology topic only. It is actually a mix of people, technology, and processes rooted into data to make this evolution of conversation from in-person to omnichannel. And to address that, one of the key pillars that we have addressed is actually the technology side. You saw one of the key pillars is technology, and I'm sharing with you what we call the Omnichannel Ecosystem that we have deployed in Nestlé. This is live in more than 130 countries. And we have actually decided to identify 7 key channels that actually address the needs of more than 90% of healthcare professionals worldwide. So you see them, I wanted to share them with you, being messaging, the personalized messaging, social media, websites, events and congresses, all the HCP portal capability that we built for HCPs, and finally, the remote engagement. This ecosystem has been built to empower the HCP-facing resources that we have in the marketplace to drive this new conversation experience. And as you can see, an illustration on the right-hand side of the screen, this enables to build different experiences. And by experiences, we actually mean journeys, differentiated journeys that will actually look very different from one persona to the other. But in addition to this omni-channel concept of having interlinked channels, we also dedicate a lot of effort and resources on building conversation within each channel. It is not only about building a conversation across the different channels, but it is also about building conversation within each channel. And I want to illustrate that with the concrete examples that we have run, and this has been accelerated through the launch of COVID. We have actually moved from what we used to call webinar to what we call today virtual events. And the big difference is illustrated as such. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have a key opinion leader sharing medical information with a number of healthcare professionals with the objective to educate them, while the exact same topic can be mapped on the right-hand side through an enhanced experience, as you can see, which is not only an event, a screen sharing, it's about building all this experience through a lobby access, sharing the same type of information but in a different format, having an auditorium, having peer-to-peer exchange within each event as we are having today, part of the networking, as well as gamification and some emotional videos that can be inbuilt each of the events. And I think that this is part of the exercise that we all need to do, moving from a very plain webinar event into something that is much more experiential, conversational. But most importantly, it has been discussed at the very beginning. I think that if we really want to embrace the omnichannel transformation, I believe that every organization needs to review his business model, and especially the medical operation model that we leverage on a daily basis. And I just want us to step down and look at the outside. Also, as FMCG, we also look at the outside industry. We often refer to the bank industry as being one of the most advanced industry on the digital front. I just wanted to highlight that the journey that I are taking from traditional bank to online bank, and today there is even the rise of a new concept called neobank. These are actually financial technology firms that don't have a physical branch, but even more, don't even have a banking license to actually deliver the financial services to us as consumers of those financial services. What I really want us to look at is that the bank industry has moved from one traditional model, which is the traditional bank, into a mix of models that actually coexist. All of us can probably be fit in different operating models of the bank industry, and I think that we are, as life science industry, moving into the similar path, because we have moved from almost exclusive physical engagement with our customers. Today, most of us, if I don't say all of us, are engaging customers in a hybrid fashion, being through a mix of physical and digital. I personally believe that, talking about next, that the future is a bit more colorful than that. And I think that we need to also evaluate the possibility to have multiple medical operation models that coexist in each market based on market specificities and HCP dynamics. If we really want to put the HCP at the center, we also need to be equipped to put the HCP at the center. And this is one of the exercises that we are doing. I wanted to share that with you totally openly. We have redefined our business operation model in the medical operation scope, and we have actually decided to extend our hybrid model that is today, and we are today deploying in more than 130 countries this new ecosystem of models, which is basically hybrid, remote, digital, and pure play medical operation models. And all of these are actually leveraging different types of weight from those topics. Remember my introduction on conversation. How much do we leverage conversation one-to-one? Again, our resources are finite. We cannot invest unlimited resources on HCP engagement. So as you can see, personalization comes second, and third, how much do we put a strength on the digital engagement? And all of those models are actually weighting differently, which means that one HCP that will be engaged through one model versus the other will actually experience a whole launch that is totally different from one to the other. So it is not only about the channel mix. It is not only about the within channel. It's also about the medical operation model that we put in place to target HCPs and to delight them. This particularly implies the fact that we also need to decide very clearly on who is orchestrating the engagement with healthcare professionals. And there is a very strong evolution that we have been evaluating in the last few years about how is the rep role evolving. Not only the commercial role, but being MSL, medical reps, our clinical advisors, or even our medical directors. Every HCP-facing resource is particularly key in making the omnichannel experience come true. And what we have decided at Nestlé is actually to enhance and diversify the role of the rep. As you can see, we have right here on the top the hybrid rep that we are now supplementing with new roles that we have created, such as the remote rep, the digital rep, but also the digital medical operations specialists, because there is a reality. Enhancing and opening this omnichannel ecosystem requires different skills and competency to be able to succeed in this omnichannel transformation. So it is a lot about our people, and it was one of the key components: technology, processes, and people. And I think that it's really important for us to upskill, redefine the competency, role, and responsibilities that all of our HCP-facing resources are playing to make this omnichannel transformation a success. And this is of paramount importance for our HR team not only to recruit the right reps, but also to enhance and to create a learning path for the existing reps that we have that are doing an amazing job in the marketplace. And of course, all of that sums up to the efficiency, because there is clearly an investment that is required to reach these heights, but the return on investment is as much important as the investment itself. And hence, I really wanted to illustrate that from an efficiency perspective, we are talking about quality of voice as well as quantity of voice. We are now able, with this new ecosystem, to reach and get exposed more HCPs to our communication, our medical education. Similarly on the engagement, but more qualitatively on the experience and the impact, we clearly see a spike in the way HCPs are actually reacting and responding to our communications. With that, I have 3 minutes left, and I really wanted to finish with a quote from a Swedish writer as sort of the takeaway of my presentation. A conversation is so much more than words. A conversation is eyes, smiles, and the silence between words. And I think that it's very important for us to bear in mind that omnichannel is not only about sharing content through different channels. It is particularly important for us to also leverage this concept of conversation, which is also emotional, with our customers, and consider them as humans, even in a digital setting. And I think that that's the only way we can build meaningful and seamless experiences for our customers, because at the end of the day, we really want to reach best-in-class outcomes for their patients. With that, I would like to thank you in Croatian. Hvala.